Look, myself and my partners, we are men of faith. We know the story we want to tell. We are partnering oftentimes with production companies, people on our crew, things that don't necessarily have the same lens, right? So how do we shepherd the story that we want to tell? And that is to be as truthful and as honest as possible.
This is the Act One podcast. I'm your host, James Duke. Thanks for listening. Do us a favor, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. My guests today are producers Aaron Benward and Cliff Young. Both Aaron and Cliff came to prominence in the Christian music scene in the 1990s, and now they are filmmakers. Aaron and Cliff joined forces with filmmakers Scott Brignac and Cody Bess to launch their film company Watershed Motion Pictures, which is a collective of forward-thinking filmmakers passionately dedicated to weaving redemptive narratives that inspire change, evoke emotion, and ignite the imagination. Their latest project is the new show God, Family, Football, a new docuseries that features the rich, diverse personal stories of high school football players, coaching staff, and the broader Shreveport community, set against the dramatic backdrop of the 2022 Louisiana high school football season. God, Family, Football is available to stream beginning September 1st on Amazon's Freevee channel. I really enjoyed my conversation with Aaron and Cliff, and I think you will too. Enjoy. Aaron and Cliff, welcome to the Act One podcast. It's great to have both of you here.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. I'm excited for what we're going to see in Act 2 and Act 3.
That's right. Yeah. The Act 2 and the Act 3 podcast. Very exciting. Yeah. By the way, where am I speaking to you guys from? Are you both in Nashville? Where are you guys?
Go ahead. I'm in Houston right now, and Aaron's in Nashville, I think, right? Are you in Nashville?
I'm in Los Angeles right now.
Yeah. He's in LA. He's in LA with me.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Do you split your time, or do you mostly live here? Or do you mostly live where do you hang out, Aaron? Mostly.
Yeah. So, about 11 years ago, my wife and kids and I moved to Burbank, and we lived in Burbank for 10 years. Our kids were in 6th grade, 10th grade, and seniors in high school. Crazy times to take your kids across the country. But we did it, man. We've been always kind of an adventure type family. And so we did. And then we recently, a year ago, moved back to Nashville. So my wife and I now are getting ready to celebrate 29 years of being married, and we're empty nesters, and we have our first grandbaby. And we're just living our best life between Nashville, LA, and Houston. So.
Awesome. Congratulations, by the way, on that. That's awesome. And Cliff, have you always been a Houston boy?
I have. Yeah, I have. I moved here when I was about, 4 or 5. So I have always been here. Now I've traveled for a long time, so I don't feel like I've always been here, but I have.
Now, there's people who are listening to this podcast, and they're like, wait a second. This says that you're talking to Cliff Young and Aaron Benward, and they're going to recognize these names from music that they might have listened to, at least for me in my college years. So when you say you traveled a lot, Cliff, it's because you were on tour, right? Yep. For years with Caedmon's Call. You were the
I was one of the singers, myself and my wife, who we started the band back in 93. And then also there's Derek who sings as well. And so we got 7 of us, so it's a small orchestra. But yeah, traveled full time for 15 years, something like that.
Did you tour? You toured for 15 years?
Yes.
Wow.
Long time. So
that's and
Aaron,
long time. And for people who don't know you, help me clarify this. So I have a solo album of yours, but you started with your dad. Is that right?
I did, man. Right out of high school. My dad was a gospel singer growing up, and right out of high school, he's like, "Dad, son, what you can do with your life?" I said, "Dad, I want to do what you do." He goes, "Oh my gosh, we got to pray." And so anyway, he just said, "Man, look, you're going to college. Why don't you come travel with me a little bit, see if you even like being on the road," and da-da-da. And so that turned into me singing one song with him in his concerts, turned into, making albums together. And we were I think the first and only father-son duo in Christian music in most genres to be exact, by Aaron Jeffrey. And so I was always singing with my dad and wishing I could sing cool music like Cliff and his band.
Yeah, right.
And you went, so then you did it. So then did you make a couple of solo albums? Or was that?
Yeah. So after my dad and I made 4 albums together, and then I had an opportunity to make a solo record. And it came out to a thundering applause of nothing. It landed just on its like a dead rat. And from that point on, after that, I actually had another career. I've had like 9 lives, like a cat, man. I had a career in country music, and I signed a record in country music. The duo is called Blue County, one of my close friends, and we had some hits in country music and toured for about 5 years there. So I've kind of had in the Christian world and in the mainstream world, in the music side of things.
And you grew up in Nashville?
I did. So we moved. Well, I met Cliff when we were 8 years old. We started playing basketball together and became the best of friends, and still to this day. And my dad was actually on the staff at a church where Cliff's dad pastors and still pastors, called Second Baptist Church in Houston, Texas. And then my dad got to sign a record deal when I was a freshman in high school, and so we moved to Nashville then. And so then I was in Nashville. Yeah,
I lived. My one little brief connection to you guys is I lived outside of Houston when I was between the ages of 6 and 10. We lived in Alvin, Texas.
Yeah. Alvin, and then right next to Pearland. That's
yes. My dad worked in Pearland.
A little different, but
yeah, little different. I remember we would. My dad took us a couple times to camp in Galveston on the beach, and I remember that. I remember spending the night. I was a little kid, but yeah, I remember Alvin's claim to fame is it's the hometown of Nolan Ryan. That's how everyone in Texas knew it.
Yeah, that is true.
Sure.
That's true. A friend of ours just did that Facing Nolan documentary.
Yeah. I really liked it. I watched it.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yes, it was really good. Yeah. So Cliff, Aaron mentioned it. So basically, both of you guys came from families where both of your fathers were in ministry.
Yeah.
And you, Cliff, so your father is a very well-known pastor. He Second Baptist there in Houston.
Right.
And so I just want to kind of start there for both of you guys, and we'll start with you, Cliff. What do you tell people today in terms of what it was like to grow up under kind of the Christian microscope of being a pastor's kid at a large church, people knowing your dad? What was it like growing up? Did faith come to you more naturally, or a lot of preacher kids talk about, faith. They had to go find faith Absolutely. Their own way. Just curious Absolutely. How it was for both of you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I of course, I was baptized and all of that when I was 7, in the church and all of that. But yeah, when I went out to college, that was really when I guess my faith kind of became my own. It was not really until then. I mean, think about all the sermons, all the Bible lessons, everything that I ever heard in my life. It wasn't until I got into college, really on my own in my dorm room, that I really grasped the gospel, and it really became my own. But look, there's growing up the way that I did in the fishbowl, as they say, with everyone watching and all that. I'm sure I have many scars, seen and unseen, from that. And therapy is great. I recommend it. So. Yeah, I didn't know anything different, but yeah, I mean, when you leave and you're traveling, all over the country, you can on the other side of the world, and you still have that feeling that people are watching you because they know who you are, and they're whatever, there's some baggage there from it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. How about you, Aaron? Because your dad, obviously, it was a pretty. I mean, it's one thing to be a pastor, but your dad was a performer. That's a whole other kind of level of scrutiny and people looking and paying attention.
Really interesting you said, James. I mean, because the thing just kind of hit me as I'm thinking about it is that word performance. And I think, I could talk a long time about this because of the journey for me in faith, you know, on one hand, the what I was given fundamentally and learned fundamentally in the church, I don't, man, I treasure and don't take for granted, because it really rooted me in the truth of the word and truth of what it is, and it's alive and it's breathing and it's moving amongst us and all the things. However, also the church really, I don't know, I don't know how much credit I should give the church. Being raised in the church, I then took on this kind of identity of, okay, I got to make sure everything looks right, feels right, is right, is right, da 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 da. When and that became a major identity crisis for me as I continued to grow up. And that felt like my value was completely immersed in if I was performing right, if I got it all right and looked right and was successful and all the things. And honestly, James, it was through COVID, man, to be quite frank, that I got right on my face before God and said, God, I want to be honest above all. I want to be integrous above all, which means it doesn't matter what I do. It's a matter about who I am. I began on this journey of identity and really accepting who I am in God, who I am in Christ specifically. And that's changed everything. And the peace that we talk about so often, and quote, peace that passes understanding, the whole thing, I found when I surrendered that. And so now, man, it's just this beautiful daily journey of giving everything and letting God take care of it all, and just showing up and giving who I am to the world.
That's great. Now, so Aaron, you're a dad. Cliff, are you a dad?
I got 5.
Okay, so yeah, I'm talking to a couple of experts here.
Yes, I would say yes.
What do you guys do you do things? I mean, of course you do things differently, but I'm curious, what did you take from your fathers in terms of how they raised you as well-known Christians in certain spaces, at least in Houston, right? To kind of how you guys have raised your kids. Were there aspects where you were like, hey, I'm not going to do that, or where you were like, no, this needs to be a part of how I raise my kids?
Honestly, for me, I think most people do this in some way, and I think I parent as a reaction probably to the way I was parented. To be honest, and some of that is good, and probably some of it's bad.
Yeah.
But my dad is a very kind of type A large. He's the equivalent of 4 people when he's in the room, and so growing up that way is it's tough in a lot of ways. But my dad, like Aaron just said, I grew up in the truth, and I grew up with the scripture and the knowledge of Christ, in a very Christ-centered home, and that's really the most important thing. Honestly, we talk about a lot of psychobabble in parenting, but that's definitely a good thing. But in my reaction, I think probably I'm a very permissive parent. I'm pretty relaxed and fun and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
I mean, I think we all, if we're honest, try to take the good things of our parents, emphasize those things, and then also look at the things that that causes trauma, that causes wounds or whatever, because we all do it. We've all done it to our kids, and hopefully be able to change that pattern in our life and with our children generationally. My dad, man, he's a creative, man. He's a feeler. And so one of the things that I'm so thankful for is he was very honest with me in our communication about, being a teenager and, being horny and going through all the things we go through. It wasn't a situation that let's don't talk about that. It was, let's dive into that.
Yeah.
And consequently, that's been one of the things that, how we raised our kiddos is that there's nothing off limits, man. Let's go. Let's do life together.
Yeah. I know. Every day I ask myself, boy, at the end of the day, I go, boy, what did I do to screw up my kids today? I think about what did I do or not do? What did I say or not say?
Yes. Exactly.
So like I as long as they can pay their own therapy bill, I guess one day.
Exactly. Hey, I rely on my wife for all that. I think she's doing a great job. Put it that way.
Yes, I think all of our wives are doing great jobs.
100%.
That's really funny. So I was really excited to talk to you guys today because obviously I have this background as a as a fan of you guys. Like I said, I remember hearing Bus Driver, right? Like my freshman year in college or something, right? Or sophomore year, right? And it was just like, what is this? This is cool, And
so cool.
You guys did that cover to Rich Mullins. Anyway, I just right. And so I've been a fan of you guys, and like I said, Aaron, I think I could have sworn it was you, but maybe I'm wrong. But I could have sworn I heard my music was shuffling the other day, and I could have sworn I heard a version. Remember that old worship song, "Shout to the Lord"?
Yeah, that was my very.
I could have sworn that was you. Was that you?
It was my very first release as a solo artist.
Yeah. So anyway, obviously I have this background. I think a lot of people have the background of you guys as fans and stuff, but you guys have since transitioned from touring musicians and singer-songwriters. You guys have transitioned into filmmakers, and the name of your company is Watershed Productions. Is that right?
Watershed Motion Pictures. Yeah.
Watershed Motion Pictures. Right. And you guys have been producing some content. Matter of fact, you have something coming out soon. Aaron, you want to tell people a little bit what that is? It's a new docuseries on Amazon.
Yeah, man. This is wow. It's a major passion project. Basically, the backstory is I've had a mentor since I was 12 years old. I'll be 50 in September, so you can do the math. But his name is Denny Duron. He is the pastor, the chancellor, has been the head football coach of a school called Evangel Christian Academy, connected to Shreveport Community Church. Well, I met him at 12 years old. He made a major impact on my life, and since then has been a very vocal part of my life. And over the years, and moving into wanting to tell stories and things, I've always had this in the back of my mind, and often talked with Denny about telling the story of Evangel Christian Academy. Well, we were working on starting to develop a scripted version of it because it's pretty unbelievable, because they started their football program in 1989, borrowing jerseys and equipment from a neighboring school in Shreveport, practicing in parking lots. And within 4 years, they won a district championship. And by year 5, they won their first state championship. And so they went on to have gone on to become just a pedigree program and a powerhouse in all of high school football. Well, it's because of the culture that Denny created. And it was 2020. He and I were just catching up. He was retired. He's got 7 kiddos and I think 13 grandbabies. He and his wife were enjoying retirement, and we were just catching up as we often did about once a quarter. And it was football season. I said, "How's the football team doing?" He said, "Wow." He said, "Aaron, we're first time in our history, we're 0-3 to start the season and won a game." And I was like, "What? Why?" He's like, "Man, we've lost the culture. We're a really young team." I said, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" Because I mean, they went on an 85 game home winning streak. I mean, this is the type of football team they've been. And he said,
won 2 national championships.
That's right. And he said, "Man, I'm gonna come out of retirement, I think." And I said, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "When?" He said, "Tomorrow." I went, "Wow. Can I, maybe this is the way we're supposed to tell the story, because the story is so powerful. Maybe we're supposed to do it in real time. Can I bring some cameras down and see if we can't put together a little sizzle?" He said, "Absolutely." Long story short, we had deals from Peacock, close to one from Discovery Plus, and through the processes no need to go into it all unless you want to. We finally signed a deal with Freebie, which is the new ad-based platform for Amazon. And this will be basically their first piece of faith-centric content, because it's called God Family Football. And we document the journey of Denny coming back to bring the program to national prominence and bring the culture of God first, family second, and football third. to the forefront. So we're really, really excited.
That sounds great. That sounds really exciting. So it does sound like it just kind of almost out of not necessarily of necessity, but it just sounds like the docuseries, the nature of it being a docuseries just kind of developed naturally because he was coming back and it just like, hey, let's do this instead of a scripted version or whatever. What were the challenges that you guys faced in creating a docuseries? I mean, this is obviously, a lot of people that are listening to this work in the business, so they understand the difference between scripted and unscripted. But you have no script. You're going to get a bunch of cameras. You're going to film a bunch of high schoolers. What were some maybe the unique challenges that you guys faced as you were trying to craft a narrative, craft a story?
Yeah, well, I will say, like Aaron said, this is Aaron. Aaron came to Watershed, and I mean, he started talking about this almost immediately. I mean, really. I mean, we knew about Denny and his relationships, the team, and all that stuff. And so this is something he was going to do something eventually, scripted or unscripted or something with this, like he said. And so, it's interesting. Once you and Aaron's been way more involved than I have. But when you come in and you're like, hey, Amazon's going to do it. You're kidding me. That's great. Oh, we, hired the showrunner, the guy that did, what you call it? Aaron, help me. Hard Knocks, and all these different guys. Oh, this is gonna be great. And you're like, man, they're gonna get him in town. We're gonna start. Season starts, and then bang, here's gonna come this great show. And I think Aaron might tell you that it's a little bit more, a little bit more to it than that.
I'm telling you, look, it's been it's just to go. I'll do two different viewpoints of it. Let's go to just kind of the how-to. Scripted, as we all know, we know what we have to accomplish every day in our schedule. We have an X amount of pages, blah, 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 blah. And it is there. And if you don't get it, you're going to have to figure out a way to get it, right? If you don't make a day. On the unscripted side of things, this is our first foray into that. To me, it is the most tangible version in storytelling of surrender, because you are literally going after and following stories and hoping to discover and believing. Of course, life is full of conflict, so we'll find conflict. It's all about relationships anyway, character, the whole thing. Our way in was this national prominent high school football team. They'd send more Division I and NFL players to these places out of this little 300-member high school. We know that's our way in, but once we get in, we really hope there's something there compelling, right? So it's just every day of surrender, and as you do that, you begin to follow the stories and follow the scenarios. And man, I got to say, some days you get to the production office and going, oh my gosh, what have we done? Is this they've given us X amount of millions of dollars to do this? How and then again, it happens every single time. And so that was one of the biggest things. But I think ultimately this is a testament and a testimony and a story, James, for your listeners, of the miraculous. Here's what I mean. Nowhere I get the mandates about quarterly from our agency as far as what the networks are looking for. And of course, as filmmakers and people that are trying to create content, we're going, okay, what are some things? What are the right pitches? Nowhere ever have I seen on a mandate high school football, faith-based docuseries needed, wanted, anywhere. And it really came down to, and we stayed with it, man, for over 2 years. And I got to give him credit. I'm going to make sure he listens to this. To Jared Getz. Jared Getz was a former president of television for Lionsgate. He, for many years, did Disney before that. He now has his own company called Ascending Media. And he got a hold of our sizzle and literally said, he was basically a representation to everyone. And without him, honestly, continuing to stay with it, we had gone to IMDb, which now is Freebie originally, and they had passed. He came back to them. They had dinner. He goes, I have dinner again. This is a year and a half later. I have dinner with them tonight. I said, man, go one more time with God Family Football. And that was the breakthrough. That night at dinner, they said, you know what? We think we missed it. And there we are.
That's awesome. I love hearing those kind of stories. It's great. One of the things I think that a lot of people don't get about this business is how important, and you know, I don't mean to, maybe they do, but the importance of relationships, building relationships and connections with people who advocate for you whether you're in the room or not in the room. And so like when you build relationships with like this executive and these other producers and people like that who know how to come in and advocate for you and for your projects, it makes all the difference in the world. And that all starts with just being authentic, just building relationships with people, just being human with them, just connecting with other people in such a level where they want to work with you. They like the projects you're bringing in, because I'm sure there's a lot of projects that everyone sees, and but they're that they might be interested in, or at least think are somewhat interesting. But then the people who are making it is the thing that oftentimes puts it over the top. It's like, I want to work with that person. I think that person has a unique perspective. They have a unique POV. And so I imagine a docuseries coming in with this kind of topic. Like you said, no one's asking for this, but yet you guys saw it, and this guy saw it, and now Amazon and Freevee saw it. So I love hearing those kind of stories.
And Aaron's definitely a great example of, someone who went in and kind of really had just formed a great relationship with Jared. And, it was definitely not just a, hey, here's this thing. Oh, it's great, I'll sell it, in a business type thing. I mean, Aaron's done such a great job, and they really do have a relationship now, and it's amazing.
And so you guys filmed for how long did it take you to film season 1?
We filmed the entire football season, so we were basically there from August to November.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and then you did you find, I guess here's my question, did you find the show in the edit? Like where do you feel like you found the show?
That's a good question. We started with a particular team initially in post. We weren't getting to a place that the network was really feeling like we could get to. It was just a subjective viewpoint of it.
Sure.
Of course, then we kind of brought on a new guy. His name is Matthew Woolsey. He's been for 16 seasons. He basically ran post for Big Brother. Okay. And was able to really kind of dive in. And I think it was honestly at the time, it's frustrating for people that are there from the beginning and let down and what's all going to happen. But I think, in hindsight being 2020 has been a blessing. He came in without knowing one frame of content that we shot in the field. He came in and then had to assess. So it took him like 2 or 3 weeks just to go through hundreds of hours of footage to get his head wrapped around it. He and I had so many different just conversations around it all so he could wrap it. But once he did, I feel like he had a viewpoint, and he had a POV back to that we didn't have because we're so forced for the trees sometimes. Yeah. That he was able to go, dude, this is a gem. This is amazing. This started pointing out things and really pacing it in a way. Nothing changed content-wise. So it is what it is. It is a school that puts God first, family second, and football third. And they have created champions because of that formula. That's the show, right? You get to see the lives of these kids. There's a lot of drama. There's a whole thing that happens because they're high school kids. However, it was just a pacing kind of version of what we had filmed that began to step it up and really create something that created a lot more energy, a lot more excitement, a lot better TV, as we all often talk.
Yep. I really, I'm looking forward to seeing the show. Look, if what's that network? If Bravo can make shows out of people selling real estate and rich women fighting each other, it's like you can make a show out of anything. And what I think wasn't there another high school football show like on Netflix or something?
Yeah, there's been a few. Yeah.
Yeah, was that like a comp for you guys? Like when you guys went in, were those shows? I don't even know if those shows were necessarily successful or anything, but when you were pitching it, was that like a comp for you guys?
I think so. I mean, in some respects, it's like, look, having a high school football docuseries is nothing new. What is new for us, and one of the things that Freevee said to us, because early on, I'm like, look, this is not a faith-based show. However, It's faith because that's what they used to be
Right.
create champions and create kids to believe in themselves more than they thought they ever could. And they go, no, no, no. That's what makes it different. That's why we like it. That's
Yeah.
why we want it. So Titletown, I think Titletown is the one you're thinking of in Netflix. That was about a similar, very successful program, I think, in Georgia. But you'll see the coach had a very different philosophy, very different. He was degrading. He had a lot of controversy around him, that kind of a thing. Our POV, Coach Denny Duron, is all about elevating, encouraging, believing, putting priority in this right place. Football is not going to be God around here, is what is one of his big quotes.
Yeah.
And really raising up them to be young men. That's what he's doing it for.
Yeah.
It is to create young men rather than, just these little boys running around with pads on.
Yeah, Denny's coaching method is almost counter to any coaching method you've ever seen at times. I mean, there are times where they go, oh man, he's about to rip that guy's face mask off. And that's when he goes grace and is calm and all of that. And there's times when you're like going, oh, this isn't that big deal. And he'll just get all over him. He just I don't know. He just has a different way of doing everything. And it really does. And it's driven. I've never seen anyone who takes their faith like he does and uses it both practically and like he does. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, I've never seen anyone. I've always said, when you're parenting, don't use God. You hear parents like, well, I know the Lord doesn't want you to do this, and would Jesus do that? To their kids, and then then God and the God becomes this like disciplinarian God that sits back and is like, well, you shouldn't be doing that. But Denny is able to use Scripture, his faith, the Bible, his relationship with God in just the most unbelievable ways, in huddles, pre-game talks, post-game, when they win, when they lose. It's actually incredible to watch.
That's neat. Is it when you're dealing with a true subject, when you're dealing with a real life person who clearly, Aaron, you have admired for years. I mean, he's a mentor of yours. How do you, and I'm just, how did you guys, because obviously I haven't seen it yet, the audience hasn't seen it yet. How did you guys handle maybe the not so great moments, where someone maybe isn't at their best? And because that makes good television, conflict. And so how do you honor the person that you see as a mentor and you want people to appreciate, but at the same time, portray them in a very authentic real light where maybe they aren't at their best 24/7 because they're human.
Show the truth. This is all about the truth. And one of the things going into this is somebody who has such a heart connection, and he is probably my favorite person on the planet, Denny, is I was incredibly protective of him. Not protective of him from the standpoint because there's anything there that people don't need to see, because he literally is what you see is what you get. And how you see him on screen is exactly how you would see him if you were having Mexican food with him. But making sure that, because you look, myself, my partners, Cliff, Scott, and Cody, we are men of faith. We know the story we want to tell. We are partnering oftentimes with production companies, people on our crew, things that don't necessarily have the same lens, right? So how do we shepherd the story that we want to tell? And that is to be as truthful and as honest as possible. Now, in the wrong hands, certain shows can become something that they weren't intended to be. In the right hands, they continue to be the thing that they were intended to be. And so, to your point, there is an instance this season where one of their best football players, who will be a 5-star recruit, he'll be a senior year and is coming in this fall. He's already recruited by 20 plus schools and will have more. He had a major freak out moment at halftime of a game. I mean, I was like, is he okay? Like, is he losing his mind? Okay. I think typical Hollywood would have rushed the cameras and stuck it in his face and done that. And I'm not doing this to like pat myself on the back. I'm telling you to your point of how do you monitor? I did the opposite. So guys, we're going to stay away. We're going to allow this. We're not, because it could have been detrimental to his future if college coaches would have seen a crack in his armor or a mental scenario that maybe hasn't been developed fully yet, and maybe been detrimental to his future. So my point is, it's about telling the truth at the same time protecting the integrity of the people and not exposing it and making it bigger and making light of it so that it can be a better TV. We already have great TV. We have great TV by showing the truth.
I mean, I just can't help but think about myself, right? And just go, imagine your worst moments in high school are recorded and broadcast for everyone in the world to see. And yeah, I mean, I've watched plenty of reality TV shows where you know who on Survivor, who they are casting as the villain. They know what they're doing, right? That's kind of how those shows are structured. But I like what you're saying here, because as people of faith, we have to be different. That's one of the things we talk about at Act One a lot, which is, how are you different? How are you different? We're supposed to be different. How are you different? And is it the content that you create, or is it who you are when creating that content?
Yeah, James, no, I don't want this to be offensive to anyone listening, because it's not intended. Cliff and I and our partners don't view our competition as faith-based filmmakers.
Right.
We view our competition with Mark Burnett, with those that are making shows like this at the highest level, or Steven Spielberg making movies at the highest level. Because, we talk about it ad nauseum. I'm sure you have on your podcast that, just because we're people of faith, we allow ourselves, we allow the standard of our creation and the standard of our art to be compromised. Going back to the initial thing you said earlier, how do you show real conflict? Well, in our show, we're bleeping out F-bombs. Yeah. Now, honestly, I wanted to keep them. The network wanted to bleep them out. Seriously, yeah. Because these are high school kids that are a lot of them pursuing God, a lot of them buying into the culture that who they are in Christ. But okay, so they don't say F-bombs? Of course they say F-bombs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a little thing, but I'm to your point of showing things in a way that's honest and truthful and authentic, and still glorifying God.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think all of us know, like, a lot of this content that we kind of were talking about, and we've talked to a lot of people about it, is we just want people to tell the truth. Just tell the truth. And when you put a glossy veneer on everything, like, the glossy veneers, work fine on some things. But when you put a glossy veneer on everything, that's not how real life is, right? Like, and so that's the question. If everything is a felt board Sunday school lesson, then we're not getting to the real heart and the real root of the truth. It's not that you should never do a felt board Sunday school lesson. It's just that you shouldn't make every single story a felt board Sunday school lesson.
Well, you have to have a good perspective on this.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, how do these two, CCM, Christian music artists, these two guys that grew up in the church and started doing ministry and are musicians, singer-songwriters, touring on the road. How did you guys transition into film? When had you always made film? And or was this a brand new thing for both of you guys? Just Cliff, how about we start with you?
Well, I mean, basically what happened is Aaron called me up and he's like, "Hey, you want to go to a Waffle House and have breakfast?" Yeah. He went over there and he goes, "Hey, I think it's time for us to stop doing music and go into film." I go, "Okay." And that was it. No, I'm just kidding.
You said it was as straightforward as
that. But no, it's interesting. I mean, so Aaron, I'll let Aaron speak for himself, even though, I may do it better. No, so I was working at the church. I was touring still some and at the church. And we basically started doing these short films we would do for something we call beach retreat. We take like 5,000, teenagers and stuff to the beach. They have the service at night and do all that. And so one year had an idea for us to do like a short film. We done some different things here and there, and the interesting about it was they said don't preach in the film, just tell a story that we can use, that the speaker, the pastor, student pastor, whatever, can use almost as an illustration, like a parable. And so we did. I got together the first film, and that's kind of how it started. And we've made, I think we're maybe about to be on the 11th, maybe, but somewhere in there we called Aaron, because Aaron got the film through a totally different way, and he was living in LA. So I called Aaron just to watch the films and see what he thought. And I don't know, now we can transition to Aaron's side of it.
So back when I was in Christian music, my wife and my son Luke Benward, who's now going to be 28, he was 5 years old. My wife's an actress. She was hosting a show on CMT. She's an acting coach now. And she got a call from her agent in Nashville, said, hey, he was in kindergarten. Hey, they're looking for a 5-year-old to play Mel Gibson's son in a movie called We Were Soldiers. They're going to be shooting in Fort Benning. Do you think your son could do like an audition? She goes, I don't know. He's in kindergarten right now, but I'll take him. Long story short, he got the role. That began his career as an actor and has been still to this day. And so everything from Walden movies like Because of Winn-Dixie and How to Eat Fried Worms to multiple Disney Channel films to Dear John. He played the autistic son of with Channing Tatum. The guy, my son has had an incredibly illustrious career. He actually leaves today for another movie in Virginia. But because of that, I would come in and off tour to where they were on location, whether it was Spokane or Austin or LA or whatever. And I just, when I would come off tour, it was the father of the child actor, but he's a musician and da. And I would chat with producers and kind of watch the process. And, knowing that the artist journey is a short-lived oftentimes, I was thinking, I've always been one who's very interested in tour budgets and sponsorships for the tours and merchandise, and more than just the writing the songs and being the singer. And I'm like, man, this is the same thing in a different medium where I'm able to be creative, able to kind of do the A plus B equals C side of my brain as well. But really it looks as if it's really based upon relationships. Because I watched producers and I watched them with directors and I watched them how they navigated certain things. And anyway, long story short, I was like, man, I think maybe one day that's something that my skill sets would really, really work well with. And long story short, I had started we moved to LA. I'm still in the music business in certain ways and started the first project with a friend of mine, a movie that actually we shot about 3.5 years ago, finally. But through that is when Cliff called me and said, hey man, we got these short films, will you watch them? And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how am I going to tell my buddy, these films are really bad without even watching them? And so I drug my feet, and finally, like 3 months later, he goes, dude, sit down right now. I want you to watch the first 90 seconds of this particular movie called The Assignment. And I did. And I was like, whoa, like, you guys know what you're doing. The production quality was incredible. They were all local actors. Their budgets of like 30 grand, no money. And I'm like, who's doing this? So long story short, he told me. I flew to Houston. I sat with Cliff, Scott Brignac, and Cody Best, who the four of us now make up Watershed Motion Pictures. And we started dreaming. And I turned to Scott Brignac, who has so far written and directed our features and was doing the shorts. I said, what do you want to do? And he said, I want to make feature films. I said, do you have an idea? He said, I do. It's called Playing God. It's a con movie, small time con. I said, have you written anything yet? No. So I said, Cliff, I turned to Cliff and I said, Cliff, God has afforded you so many relationships when it comes to people that have kingdom hearts and kingdom pockets. And do you know anybody who might want to fund a movie? He said, probably. He calls one person. The first person he called agreed to fund our first project called Playing God, which is now on Hulu. My son is one of the leads. Michael McKeon is one of the leads. Alan Tudyk. It's a great little movie, con movie, and I'll let Cliff kind of explain it. But that's what we began with, man. And and that has then turned into, we have a multi project slate of things. God Family Football being one. That's our first time to sell to a network. We have a YA movie starring Jordan Fisher that we're going to be going out with in this summer, and multiple other projects in development. And it just started with guys getting together, like-minded, like-hearted, desiring to do something different, and really trusting God to open the door to make it happen. And it sounds simple, but it really is.
That sounds like it's so easy peasy. Everyone, just go find yourself a Cliff Young who can
That's
get
it.
you some money. Find you a Scott Bergen who can write and direct everything. You got it. You got it, baby. You got no. I mean, honestly, though, I love the idea of you guys coming together. I mean, man, it makes all the difference in the world. This is something I always preach. I always preach at Act One about, which is find your tribe, find the people that you want to do this together with, because it's so hard. The last thing you want to do is do it alone. And I love the fact that you guys found each other and working together. It's fantastic. I'm curious, because of your backgrounds in music, what have you guys found that is, if at all, is translatable between the two industries? What skill sets or issues or whatever that you guys had in the music business that you have found has come to either help you or hurt you or benefit you in some way as you transitioned into the film business?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, there are definitely similarities there, and with storytelling and everything like that. But I know that every time we're having a meeting and we're discussing something, or especially talk about marketing or sales something, Aaron and I always, or I don't know if Aaron and I are trying to relate to each other so we understand or whatever. We always bring up music. I mean, it's like back in when we did this in music and we're trying to put whatever on, and then they're always like, okay, listen, this is not music. It doesn't apply. I'm like, yeah. I promise it does. I promise we'll get there. And so, yeah, I think we might try to relate the music industry to it a little bit too much at times. Aaron and I can be like, well, back in '96, I'll tell you. But no, what's interesting, and I've talked to Scott about this recently. My band Caedmon, we just did a 25th anniversary of our first national release record. Oh, wow. And we went to we did like a Kickstarter thing and re-recorded the record last year in Nashville, and we just went and did 2 shows at the Ryman in Nashville, which is like the original Grand Ole Opry, whatever. And it was fun. It was great. It's nostalgic. I'm not planning on touring anymore or anything like that.
You're not going to make any announcement. This is not.
No,
you're not using our podcast to make.
I am still sore from those 2 shows, just from standing up and playing the guitar and singing. But
just from standing up and playing.
Yeah, but I was telling Scott, because Scott and the guys actually filmed. We're doing kind of a documentary making of the record and all that. So Scott, our writer director out with Watershed, I was talking. I was like, it's interesting because myself and my wife, and then a guy named Aaron Tate, who was a songwriter, wrote all the songs with us and all of that. He had an amazing way of writing, and he had an amazing way of how do I even say this? His perspective, the way he came around to the crux or the meaning or the whatever of songs was such a roundabout way. And it was so just kind of in the back door, like you didn't realize, oh, that's what they're saying. Something that it may be a song where the chorus was seemingly negative. A great example, the first lyric and song that we ever worked on was when I was in college. And the chorus is, everything I do is not enough for you. Everything I do is not enough for you.
I know that song.
And so that, it sounds like it's like nothing I can do to, please you. Everything I do is not enough for you. But the whole song's about grace and relationship with God, and how there's nothing we can do that is good enough, and there's nothing we do that's bad enough to thwart his plan and his mercy and his grace. And such an incredible way of coming about writing that. All of his songs, his lyrics had that in it. And so Scott is the exact same way as a storyteller. Mm-hmm. And I know that is what attracted me to Scott creatively, was when he would go about doing something, it was just in that, you think he's going to write a story about somebody running away from home, and he ends up being the exact opposite, and you didn't realize until the end that he'd actually run away from home. You know what I mean? Just incredible things like that, to where you're it takes you a while, almost for lack of a better way of saying, for me, it's almost like a Tarantino-esque kind of Pulp Fiction world where you don't really realize what's going on until a certain point, certain moment.
Yeah.
He has a great way of writing twists that really, really hit you where you are in a great way. And I don't know, I just love the way he writes stories and tells stories. And I think that's really the main thing that I was like, man, this is very much like the way I felt when Caedmon started. And that's, I don't know, that's my side of it as far as how I apply that to music. Now there's marketing and there's all the different things that are similar and all of that. But as far as that goes, that was, to me, is like, man, he's like a songwriter, and these films are like, songs, and it's just incredible to craft them and to work on them and to see where they go and to see how people respond to them. And that's the biggest thing.
Well, and I can only imagine too. I mean, as a performer, when you tour songs for all those years, I'm sure, at this point, probably for the most part, what parts of what songs are going to hit the audience in a particular way. When are they going to stand and cheer? When are they going to raise their hands and work, whatever, like, you probably know. And that's something too, that when it comes to film, is knowing your audience and knowing what works. Like, we used to have a Act One faculty that used to use the Beatles to teach screenwriting. And her whole point was how the Beatles got their start were in a bunch of rowdy British pubs.
Yeah.
And if all the early Beatles stuff starts with, downbeat, boom, and they get right into it, because they learned that if they took too long, all the drunks would start throwing things at them. Right?
Right.
And so they had to get right into, can't buy me, right? They had to get right into it right away. Yeah. And that's kind of what led to their early popularity and things like that, was that their music was so, right away, you're right into the song. And in a sense, as screenwriters, it's like, get me into the story right away. Get me to that inciting incident as quickly as possible. Help me, capture that audience's attention, that opening sequence. Like, how is it immediately pulling someone into a new world or a new adventure or whatever. And I'm just assuming, as a musician, that has served you guys well. I mean, would you say that, Aaron?
Absolutely. I mean, I think part of understanding what you hope will work. Of course, we never know exactly what's going to work until it does. But what you hope is that, I think one of the things that, in this, I love being partners with my three partners. Cliff, his understanding of a bigger picture scenario creatively, as well as understanding the nuance of what we're trying to do as a company, and what stories we're telling, is amazing. Scott, to Cliff's point he just made, is absolutely simpatico with that, and is tirelessly pursuing how to have those types of parable in nature stories that, and Playing God is a prime example. And we should talk about that in a second, how we did that. And Cliff can speak to that really well. But I think thirdly, when probably I call our MVP is our last partner, Cody Bess. Cody, he's our DP. He also edits everything with Scott. The guy, if he was in Hollywood, would be one of the biggest DPs on the planet. He is his eye's insane. His creative breadth of work is unbelievable, from high fashion for photography in Italy and all the high fashion stuff, all the way down to the most minimalist lighting to create most beautiful images in motion picture. He's got it all. And he understands intricacies of story, character. So we have this kind of model where the way we develop our projects is very much The heavy lifting, the pen to the paper, Scott, so far, because we haven't done anything outside of him when it comes to writing. But the collective is 25% equal share, equal weight, equal voice, equal inspiration. And we believe that as we sharpen, we get to the best thing that we can possibly do for this particular picture. And, that's how it works in songwriting. Sure, you have those enigmas who write everything by themselves, but more times than not, you're in the room trying to create magic in 3 minutes on tape. And it really takes the yin and the yang, the give and the go. And sometimes it could be one little story that takes you to the hook of the song that has nothing to do with what you just said, but it takes you there. Similarly with creating content on screen, it's all about the process and the journey to get to the ultimate story.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, we were very collaborative, and Scott is very much like that. I mean, Scott will come in and he'll have written the first 30 minutes of a film or whatever it might be, or the first episode of something. And he comes in and literally we'll look at it. Aaron or myself or Cody might go, golly, I don't like this at all. That is not the right direction. No way that's going to work. And he'll just go back and go, okay, well, not that we don't have these big discussions, we go, yeah, but whatever. And then if people are kind of agreeing, it's not working, Scott will go back and rewrite it. I mean, it's just, it's fun. It's really fun. I couldn't sit down and write a script to save my life. I can't focus for that long. But
listen, taking notes is a sign of being able to take notes is a sign of a good writer. That's one of the first things that we've learned, is that you got to be able to take notes. And that's a really important attribute. If you want to be a successful writer, you got to be able to take the notes. You got to be able to figure out how to make it work. Cliff, Aaron's mentioned a couple times, you guys' first feature film, Playing God. It's available on Hulu. Is that right?
It is available on Hulu or anywhere where you can get on Hulu. If you already have Hulu, it's on there. But if not, you can rent it or buy it, whatever. Pretty much anywhere. It's still Aaron, right?
Yeah. Tell the audience a little bit about how that film came to be and kind of what the film's about a little bit.
Well, again, kind of what I was talking about earlier about writing in a different way of writing. The whole idea was it started out, we were going to do kind of more of a shorter film specifically for our retreat that we're talking about. And the idea was 4 people, or I guess at the time it was 3 people, basically argue the point of the existence of God, as that all started, but none of them believe in God or have a relationship with God themselves. So the whole idea was they're doing this con, and they were trying to con this rich guy, and it's a brother-sister con team. They recruit their mentor, their old crime mentor in crime, who's Michael McKeon, and they then go in to try to, basically, this guy's searching for why his daughter died, and the millionaire is going off, and they're trying to take advantage of that and use that to basically rob him. And he's searching around trying to find who is God, going to take ayahuasca, and he's traveling all over the world. He's different religions and different things. And so they're basically setting out to pretend that to play God, basically, and to basically, trick him out of his money, con him out of his money. And so anyway, it started this whole thing where so you have these people that are, we'll call them godless people, just for sake of ease, these godless people, these criminals who are going to try to pretend to be God to this person who is seeking who God is. And so it's this very interesting way of trying to, this kind of like apologetic kind of world that we got into, told by people who were atheists or agnostic at best. And so they got to go in and research and figure out who's God, who wants, and then you end up, one of the big lines in it is, we don't need to give him the God of the Bible, the God of Oprah, the God of whatever. We just need to give him the God that he wants. And so that kind of sets him off on his journey. And so there's just some great stuff like that. They end up talking about dying and why bad things happen to good people and why his daughter died and all that. Now, it's interesting when you walk out of this movie, when you watch this movie, we literally we tested this movie a lot in LA, all over the place, Austin, different places all over. And there would be a questionnaire, of course, if you've been to a testing of film before. And there'd be a questionnaire. A lot of people are filmmakers, some are not. And they would fill out something almost 100% of the time. The person on the end would say, I don't believe in God because of da 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 da. Or someone would say, I am a person of faith, and this was a movie that really spoke to me because I can tell that this is a movie. Hey, people that were atheist, agnostic, or whatever else, had no idea, any clue that we were people of faith at all. But yet they always said something about what they felt about God and what is God, who is God to them. And the people of faith, they would go, yeah, we can tell this is a faith movie. I mean, it was a very interesting. It's almost 100% across the board, and so it's great. I don't think it's a perfect film, but I don't. It's a fun journey. It's definitely a con movie. Has that Ocean's 11 thing in there, but it's also very dramatic. Very there's some very hard hitting places and very tough places to watch, and I don't know. I think it's a good first go at a feature.
And did you guys shoot it? Did you shoot it like right before COVID, like before the pandemic, or?
We shot it. When did we shoot it? Aaron, 2017?
17 or 18, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it was a couple years before. Okay.
Yeah.
And Aaron said you went out and you raised the money or whatever. What was that like scaling up from short films up to a feature film? What were maybe some challenges you guys experienced that you weren't expecting? I ask the challenge question a lot because I always say that I think people learn more from valleys than from mountaintops, and everyone loves to talk about mountaintops. And I'm like, but tell me about the valleys, because I think that there's right. That's where most of the lessons are learned. So, like in terms of just maybe some of the struggles or issues that you guys had, what kind of takeaways do you have?
I mean, for me, I would say it was actually tough, and we definitely made some mistakes. I mean, I know Aaron would say this 100%, and I would as well. There are definitely things that we spent money on that we did not need to spend money on. And there were things that we should have spent money on that we didn't spend money on, it's funny when we go into about to go into a film. I'm filming a short film right now in Houston for the Beach Street thing. We're working on it. And, Aaron or I or whoever kind of we feel like we're in charge, or we have a handle on things, and we like to treat people a certain way. And because there was 50 something people on set at all times, not even including cast, I think, for playing God.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what to say. Like, here I am. I'm one of the guys who created this film. I'm sitting there around all of these film crew that done all these movies all over the world and country and everything. I'm kind of going, okay, I guess I'm just kind of along for the ride here, And so there are a lot of things like, I don't know, the hierarchy in filmmaking bothers me so badly. Just the whole, one of the PAs would sit in one of the actors' chairs just for a second to get a photo of themselves, and then one of the older PAs that have been around longer, or one of the co-directors people, whatever, would go around and be like, hey, you can't sit there, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, that's bullcrap. I ain't doing that. So I'm like, next time we do that, we're treating everybody the same. No, I understand you have actors come in. We had big time actors come in that are used to being treated a certain way, and they have certain things, and that's fine. I get it. And that's a different story. But when it comes to the crew and all that, we're not doing that. You don't sit there, and you don't sit. You're not supposed to go in there. It ain't happening. So everyone's in a family, and we're all a team, from the person who gets coffee to the director to the whoever. So
I love it. Spoken like a man who toured in a band for 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody, no, you're not the only one that gets the coffee. We all get the coffee.
Right, exactly.
No, that's it's so fascinating too, because you're right that Hollywood is built on all these different hierarchical systems, and some are necessary because they're about production flow. They're about trying to get expediting process. But then so many of them, it's just ego. It's just about and money and all that kind of stuff. And yes, that's once again, how are we different? You got to ask that question. You got to answer that question. Right. How are we different?
Yeah. And I think, but coming from the actor's perspective, I'll say this, being a musician for so long, we used to say, I can't believe these people have all these writers and contracts and they have to have what vegetables and who meats and they have to stay hot. Well, then after we had toured for about 4 years independently, and we said, give us whatever you want. So we had Subway for lunch every day, and we had pizza for dinner every day for 4 years. We finally realized, okay, we get it. Maybe we need to have some things here. And so look, when when we were picked up at the airport or if we were to fly data or we go into a place, yes, we would like to have things pseudo familiar, know where we're going, have the green room, have a place to eat. I get it. And so actors are a different story. I don't go in there and going, oh, actors are a bunch of, jerks and all that. It's not that at all. I mean, they need some familiarity. Aaron knows as well as anyone does with Luke. And we want to take care of the actors, but at the same time, when it comes to the crew and the people and the directors and all that, I can't stand the hierarchy and then the egos. I can't stand it.
I mean, it's why I banned pizza from all my film sets. I mean, I love pizza. Lots of people love pizza, but if you're a crew member going from show to show and all they're doing is shoving, cheap pizza down your throat, it's like, no, give these crew guys something good to eat. Give them something good. Give them something healthy. Don't it's not like pizza's wrong or bad. It's that no, I'm not going to be a set where that gaffer's going to come in and be like, what? You're giving me pizza, kind of thing. I want them to eat well,
Yeah, of course.
So Aaron, your son stars in the film. He's one of the actors that stars in the film. What was it like working? Was that the first time you produced a movie that your son starred in? What is that like to work with your son at that level? It's got to be fun, but it's also, there's got to be other parts of it maybe not so fun. I don't know. Maybe for you, but maybe for him.
Man, thanks for asking that question. It was amazing. It was a dream come true. Continuing the kind of the legacy we have in the Benward side of me working with my father and now him working with me. The experience was, you have to ask him for his take, but I think he would say it was enjoyable. It was incredibly collaborative, and as a father, there's no greater joy than to watch your children do what they love and what they've been created to do. And so to be able to be there firsthand and watch him and his process. And obviously as he's grown into a young man, from 5 years old to now, the time when he shot a movie, I think he was 25 years old, 24, 25 years old. And to see him and his processes and see him as an artist, as a young man, taking, how he dealt with our director, for me to step back and allow him, whether he was frustrated with certain things or he was over the top about certain things or he needed other things, to allow that to happen, that transaction, that relationship to develop. A couple of times was hard, to be honest, because he got frustrated a few times that were pretty big frustrations, but allowing him and the director to really work through that created an incredible, I think, trust ultimately through it all between the two of them that you'll see on screen. And he learned through it, and I think Scott learned through it as well. And instead of inserting myself in there to make sure it was all okay, allowing that tension that then created, even stronger performance, I think.
Yeah, and Luke had been in a lot of big sets like that and everything, way bigger than that, and Scott never had, actually. So I think it was a learning experience for Scott.
Yeah, I'm curious what Scott would say like that. even though you're friends and partners, I'm sure there's some level of intimidation and maybe worry or anxiety that I've got dad on this shoulder as my producer, and I'm trying to direct his son, like you said, on a big film set that maybe I haven't been at. So,
and Aaron's oldest daughter was a scriptie.
Yeah.
You had complete control, Benward. Benward had every aspect of production under complete control. That's funny. She's like feeding new lines to him.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah.
It's true. She really was.
Yes.
Wow, you guys. Sounds like a lot of great stuff. I think the audience is really going to get a kick out of if they haven't found Playing God already, and of course, God Family Football and all these other projects. So congratulations. Thanks so much. This has been just a fantastic conversation.
I will say one thing too. I want to say, I'm thinking about Aaron on this as much more than anyone, is that I'll say this, that it takes serious hard work to be in this world, in this business. And, Aaron, for one, works his tail off all the time. And it's constant. It is not a thing where it's like, man, we're just going to go and make this movie, and, we're going to, have an altar call at the end, and man, it's going to be a great movie, and we're going to get this, we're going to get this actor who used to be really good and famous, get him in there, and boom, there's our movie. No, to make good film and to make great films, it takes some serious work and serious dedication and serious perseverance. And we're learning that. We have learned that, but I will say that we do work hard at what we do.
Yeah.
James, I was going to ask you a question before we go.
Yeah.
Someone who has been doing this and Act One and very connected to the industry and the creatives and people like ourselves, what would you say to us as we get off of this? What would you tell us? What would you encourage us with, or suggest to us, or challenge us with, or what do you feel is needed right now?
That's a great question. And that's we could record a whole other podcast on that. One of the things that I think that I'm impressed with you guys on is a little bit kind of what Cliff touched on there, is there's a level of humility that you have to have in working in this business, where you have to go, look, I just have to keep trying. Things are not going to work out. No's almost never mean no. They in this context, they just mean not right now. And it's so hard to train your brain to think, when you have that meeting, when you have that pitch meeting, when you meet with that producer, when you meet with that financier, potential, whatever, and you get a no, to retrain your brain to be like, no, it really just means not right now. And perseverance is something that is woefully underappreciated. But every single person that I know that has made any kind of mark in this business has done it over years and years of just hard work, of just stick-to-itiveness, and just staying in there and just trying to get stuff done. And I think you guys are doing that. And I would just say, I think more than anything, you just have to keep going. And even when you taste a little bit of success, it's not like all of a sudden the boulder starts rolling down the hill. It's just like, it's like, oh, there's a larger hill now that's even steeper, and I got to push the boulder even harder. And that is kind of, I think, in the end, Aaron, to your question, man, my hope and my prayer and my blessing for you guys is that you would dig your heels in and just push harder. Push harder. So I don't know if that's kind of what you were.
That's good.
No, that's great.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. It's great.
Stick-to-itiveness. Did you coin that? Stick-to-itiveness?
Yeah, that's right. That's a Jimmy Duke.
I like that.
Hey, listen, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. This has been fantastic. I always like to close our podcast by praying for our guests. Would you allow me to do that?
Absolutely.
Heavenly Father, we just want to stop and just thank you for who you are, and just thank you for what you're doing in the lives of so many people around the world. I especially want to thank you for the work that you are doing in the lives of Aaron and Cliff. And God, not only in them, but in their families and just through the work that they're accomplishing. God, I just pray that you would continue to work in them and through them, that you would continue to fill them with your creativity and your inspiration. God, I pray you would continue to fill them with your stick-to-itiveness. God, that they would persevere, that they would persevere through all the different challenges that come our ways. And God, I pray that you would just bless them. I pray a blessing upon all their endeavors. I pray a blessing upon their families, their children, their marriages, and of course their work, God. And we trust you in all of these things because you are a good God. And we love you. We pray this in Jesus' name, and your promises we stand. Amen.
Thank you for listening to the Act One podcast. Celebrating over 20 years as the premier training program for Christians in Hollywood, Act One is a Christian community of entertainment industry professionals who train and equip storytellers to create works of truth, goodness, and beauty. The Act One program is a division of Master Media International. To financially support the mission of Act One or to learn more about our programs, visit us online at actoneprogram.com. And to learn more about the work of Master Media, go to mastermedia.com.